Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about reaping and sowing because I had a little bit more to say in regards to why the narcissist doesn't reap what they sow like they should, or a couple of other things. So let's jump in. So we all pretty much out there have talked on and believe that narcissists should reap more than what they do for the sowing that they put out there, the negative sowing and all the destruction. Because if it was you or I, we would be underground, right? And a lot of people would probably retaliate on us, but they're not retaliating on them, right? So interesting, it's an interesting case, the narcissist. But what you're dealing with is somebody who gave up on their spirit man. They sacrificed their spirit man. And one thing that was interesting to me is when you give up on your spirit man and you sacrifice it, like Sam Bankman has mentioned, and you have the imaginary friend that comes in and becomes your mask, they let it in, they become a cult with it, and it is their god, and it gives them energies and it gives them protection. Well, what I wanted to say about that is when they did sacrifice their true self for the false self, and that is what took out their innate spirit, their core innate spirit of who they are. So they still have their soul, which is their mind, will, and emotions, and they have their flesh, of course, their meat suit or their avatar, but they do not have the opportunity to have a higher sense of thought, to have the ability to take the higher road. They don't. When people would say, when they go low, we go high, or I'm not going to stoop to that level. Well, the narcissist, you'll find in anything that they deal with you, they will stoop to that level. And that's because that's the only level they're on. They do not have a higher self, a higher way of thinking. They do not think anything spiritual. And that negative energy in them is their God. So it's all housed in one. And that's why at times you'll hear them be most of the time they'll be pompous, grandiose, even if they're covert and vulnerable. And they will talk in passive ways how grandiose they are. They just act differently, play the role differently than an overt narcissist. They will talk about how people are subservient to them, and a lot of times that they come from some prominence or something, or they have good genetics. They talk like that a lot. But that's because everything is housed in that body. I mean, a lot of times you don't know who you're talking to, but nevertheless, the negative energy is what is in complete control of them, because it controls their cycles. And that's obvious because humanity wouldn't cycle like that. It controls their thought pattern because it had the ability to put thoughts into our head, because we were cast under that spell and we were under that family curse before we woke up. So we would get things like, we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'd have these people coming to us. We were taught to people please and groom to do things and accept energies. But when you hear stuff like, I got to give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's what everybody has heard in their inner voice, that's what's put into your head, into your mind. And there's other things, but if they can almost control you from the outside, this negative energy to some degree, you best believe that it's controlling everything that narcissist is thinking and doing when it comes to anything pertinent, at least. And that's why the cycles are like that. And it's also why when they get bored and they need a challenge and it's time for them to jump to a new form of supply, they will get feelings, and some of their emotions will change, and some of their hormones will probably change as well based on what that negative energy is doing in there. It's going to move things about hormonally. It's going to move things about with thoughts in their mind, and also with their emotions, to make them go in a certain direction. And so that's what they follow through with, and that's how they get direction in most cases. And even when they put on these different masks, right? I mean, and learn these different ways to do takedowns, perform takedowns, they may not know, because a lot of times there are unaware narcissists that they're dealing with negative energy. They do know that they're evil and they're performing evil, and that they are predatory by nature, that they're different than us, humanity, and they don't have a lot of the options that we have as far as feeling good emotions. But they're also convinced that it is the weakness of humanity. That's what makes them feel like they are grandiose in God status, or that we're subservient to them and things like that. Because what it is they see the benefits in it. And that's why they also don't want to change, because they're convinced that the benefits outweigh the circumstances. They also, it said, Sam Bankman had said when that thing would enter, or before it would enter, one of the enticing things is it would protect them and give them energy and power, right? And so you're talking about power and control. So it would give them certain ways to wield their abilities, just taking a regular humanity, but to interject some kind of negative energy with the ability to direct it. And, there is a chance, and I've thought about this, but if they did this early in childhood, they also can have been brainwashed into forgetting that whole circumstantial thing took place to some degree. You can do things when you're young and it could be wiped from your mind until somebody actually jogs your memory again. So the whole instance with this situation occurring, and with all the drama that the narcissist gets involved in on a daily basis, there's a good chance that they're so fogged up they probably forgot about the whole situation where they accepted that covenant. But something tells me they have to know some things, and they just are also in some sort of denial. And there's something going on there too with parts of their memory, probably because parts of their frontal lobes, they're left and the right side. More on the right though, because the right side is where you find the love sectors, the common sense sectors, and the creativity sectors that are kind of wiped out on them. Those areas in the brain where it's turned off is proof. Listen, this is where there's proof that they sacrificed their true self. Those areas is where the true self used to reside and operate through. But it looked like it was, put out. It was put out. They don't turn on PETs and MRIs, and they have the ability to operate as hybrids now, as different than us. They would even say some forms of leadership look for like sociopaths or antisocials, because they have the ability to take out folks and not care. They could just go on about their day. So if you were in some sort of a ops type situation or something to protect a homeland or something like that, these are people that they would look for to recruit. I've listened to ex people talk on this, and that's because I just kind of thought about it, and it seems to line up, because they have to lie all the time. They have to wear false masks all the time when they go to different countries and stuff. So they have to put on a fakery, and then they have to get themselves out of it if they do get caught. And who best to do that than an antisocial? And one that could handle doing that job day after day. And so this is the thing, when you find out that good people have been hurt or they're no longer and just had some bad mishaps and stuff, it makes me wonder if, like I said, about the energy switch earlier, how they switch energy to avoid karma, or reaping what they sow is what we call it in the word. But it's to some degree similar, I guess, the whole idea of it. But they do this on a daily basis so they can have a high vibration. And that helps them stay cloaked in what I call the fruits of the spirit. So they look like they have the fruits of the spirit, and they can act like it. Because if they get enough energy that's good enough, and they go through all these love cycles with people that gets them to vibe high, and they're able to flip energy all the time with people, they won't walk in fear. Their victim will. Their target will be the one that's walking in the fear, because they threw all the fear onto them, and all the anxiety and all the paranoia and the anger, the hate, the jealousy. And see, then that person has to go and burn it off, and they can get hurt that way. And this is why it's detrimental that you don't hang out with these individuals and have them as love partners, and don't be nonchalant about it. Because if you got narcissist energy on you and you're forced to burn it off, and you don't really have too much self-control when you're going through that, you're going to get pissed off and angry. You're going to act outside yourself. You're going to get paranoid. You're going to get anxious. There's different things. Go through depression states, and you might pop off on somebody, say the wrong thing, and you might get hurt or not be around anymore, because they flip that energy on you. You end up reaping their negative harvest, and then you get unalived or something, you see? So when you hear this stuff in our reality, in our news and stuff, where good people, those things happen, it makes me wonder if the people around them were narcissists and projecting onto them all their negative energy. And when you wear that negative energy, you don't even have to pop off on anybody or do anything wrong, because just that vibration will draw evil people to them. And that's why they desperately don't want to wear it, because it's not only that they want to vibe high and get new targets and good targets so they can suck them dry and be cloaked in their energy and fuel, and to some degree enjoy the power and control over people in life and not have to deal with the shame and the anger and the hate and the jealousy with no self-control. See, they almost take your self-control when they take your energy, you see. So that's why you'll see a covert narcissist that acts like they're in complete control of themselves. I bet you if you took all that good fuel off them, you stripped them off of that good fuel, they would not act like that. They would be depressed, walking in shame. They would have a cloud of thunder and lightning above their head, and they would be insecure for real. You would see it in the physical form, but you don't see it most of the time, because most of the time there's too many of us out there that keep handing over our jewels, our fruit, our fuel. And it says, do not throw your jewels among swine in the word. And that's just to some degree talking about the narcissist, because it's saying don't give people your fruit for them to just walk all over it and to sling it around in the mud and make fun of it and mock it, step on it, spit on it, and use it and destroy it and use it for evil, or to give them information even. Like sometimes you want to make people aware of things and they're not ready for it. So they'll just mock you, laugh at you, but it's the truth, and that's stuff that they needed to hear, but they're not ready for it. So you might as well just keep it, because it's worse for you to do that to somebody who's some fool. If you give a fool good knowledge and understanding and they're not ready for it, it talks in Proverbs about that. It's worse for you. You can get hurt over that. So you got to be real careful and vigilant on what you do, what you say, and who you say it to, who you do it to, who you hang out with, and what you're projecting and what gets projected onto you, and what you absorb and what you deny. Because this is serious stuff, y'all. Because people get stuff projected onto them, and then sometimes because they're wearing that negative energy and they are vibing on such a narc vibration, people will come to them. If you got a narcissist that has a vibration of retaliation that is coming at them based on their negative reaping, and then they toss that on you, or they have the ability to, then you're going to have the retaliation come to you. Or at least you have the opportunity. This is a bad opportunity, but you have the opportunity to reap some negative effects that should have hit them, but because you were foolish or walked in folly as far as who you were mingling with, you get caught in the crossfire. So I just wanted to say that for today, and not to scare anybody, but for the ones that need to hear it, to keep you sharp, y'all. So till next time, soldier up, peace, be out.